They say life changes when you least expect it. For me, it happened in January 2025, a month I thought would be just another cold, monotonous start to the year. But I was wrong. So wrong. My name is Derek, and I'm a 35-year-old white American working as a computer professional in the San Francisco Bay Area. My life was predictable. Wake up, work, sleep, repeat. Until one evening, as I stood at Fisherman's Wharf, staring at the fog-covered Golden Gate Bridge, something shifted. The weight of the past 2 years, my messy divorce, the endless deadlines, the isolation, all of it suddenly felt unbearable. I needed out. I needed warmth. A friend of mine had just returned from Bali, raving about its golden beaches, lush rice fields, and the kind of energy that makes you feel alive again. Maybe that was exactly what I needed. So, I booked a flight. I was going to Bali. If you love listening to romantic heart, touching gay, and pride love stories, do not forget to like and subscribe our channel. After nearly 24 hours of cramped airplane seats, questionable airport coffee, and a long layover in Taipei, I finally touched down in Bali. The moment I stepped off the plane, the warm, humid air wrapped around me, thick with salt and the scent of something tropical. It was a world away from the cold, gray January I'd left behind in San Francisco. I took a deep breath, letting it sink in. This was it. My escape from reality had officially begun. After grabbing my luggage, I made my way outside and hopped into a taxi. The night air was thick and balmy, carrying the scent of the ocean even from here. The driver weaved through the streets effortlessly, and I let my head rest against the window, watching the neon signs and scooters zipping past. About 10 kilometers from the airport, we reached my hotel, a beachfront spot in Seminyak. Even in the dim glow of streetlights, I could tell this place was different from anywhere I'd been before. The rhythmic crash of waves in the distance, the scent of salt and fresh warmth in the air. It already felt like a world away from my usual life. I exhaled slowly. Maybe this trip was exactly what I needed. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of waves crashing outside my window. The jet lag had me up earlier than I expected, but I wasn't complaining. I was in Bali, and today I wanted to explore. I stepped out of the hotel and pulled out my phone to book a ride. Within minutes, a deep rumble of an engine caught my attention. A sleek black Yamaha pulled up in front of me, and the guy on it was, well, hard to ignore. Long black hairs, tanned and built like he spent more time at the gym than on the road. He looked effortlessly cool in a fitted black t-shirt and ripped jeans. He slid his helmet off, revealing sharp features and a confident smirk. "Derek," he asked in a deep, accented voice. I nodded. "Yeah, that's me." He patted the back of the seat. "Hop on." I hesitated for half a second, not because I was nervous about the ride, but because I wasn't sure if my pulse had kicked up from the excitement of exploring Bali or the guy who was about to take me there. "Hop on," he said, his voice deep and smooth, with that effortless confidence some guys just have. I hesitated, not because I was nervous about the ride, but because the guy in front of me was distracting. He was at least 6 feet tall, broad-shouldered, and built like he spent his mornings bench pressing the ocean. His dark tan made the snug gray t-shirt stretch across his chest and biceps, leaving little to the imagination. His cool hairstyle only made his sharp features more intense, and when he smirked, something in my stomach flipped. "First time in Bali?" he asked, straddling his Yamaha, one boot resting on the pavement. "Yeah, I managed," still standing there like an idiot. He gave me a slow once-over, then chuckled. "You gonna stand there all day, or are you actually getting on?" I shook off whatever the hell that was and stepped closer, swinging a leg over the bike. The seat was warm from the sun, but the moment I wrapped my arms around him, all I felt was solid muscle beneath his shirt. "Hold on tight," he said, glancing back at me. "Wouldn't want you falling off." His tone was teasing, but there was something else in his eyes. I tightened my grip, maybe a little more than necessary. "I think I'm good," I said, my voice not quite as steady as I wanted. He smirked again, revved the engine, and just like that, we were off. The Yamaha roared to life, and we sped off into the streets of Bali. The warm air rushed past, carrying the scent of salt, tropical flowers, and sun-baked asphalt. It felt nothing like the cold, sterile city I'd left behind. As we rode, I took in the sights. Narrow roads lined with lush green palm trees, small warongs local eateries, with the smell of grilled satay drifting through the air, and temples standing like timeless sentinels, their stone carvings intricate and weathered by centuries of prayers. "Where to first?" he asked over the hum of the engine. His long, black hair flowed behind him, catching the golden sunlight like something out of a damn movie. I hadn't planned much, so I just went with my gut. "Take me somewhere beautiful." He let out a low chuckle. "I know just the place." 20 minutes later, we pulled up to the Tagalang rice terraces, a stretch of vivid green fields cascading down the hillside, the kind of place that didn't need a filter to look unreal. I hopped off the bike, stretching my legs, while he leaned back casually, arms crossed over his broad chest. "So, impressed yet?" he asked, cocking an eyebrow. I exhaled slowly, taking it all in, more than a little. "By the way," I turned to him, realizing I still didn't know his name. "What do I even call my mysterious tour guide?" He smirked, his eyes gleaming with mischief. "Bibek," he said smoothly. "Local Balinese. Born and raised in Ubud." Something about the way he said it, proud, effortless, like he was completely at home in his skin, made me feel like the outsider in the best way possible. We spent the next few hours exploring. Ancient temples, their stone walls covered in moss, the smell of incense drifting through the air. Secluded beaches, where the waves crashed against the shore in a never-ending rhythm. Sun-drenched cliffs, where the wind whipped through my hair, making me feel weightless. At some point, we stopped by a beachfront cafe. The sound of the ocean was constant, hypnotic, the sun casting long shadows as the afternoon faded. I watched as Bibek leaned back in his chair, sipping a cold bintang beer, his muscular arms flexing slightly as he ran a hand through his thick, black hair. "You came here alone?" he asked, his voice low, almost thoughtful. I nodded, needed a break from everything. He studied me for a moment before smirking. "Well, lucky for you, you've got a local guide now." Something about the way he said it, smooth, easy, like he already knew how this trip was going to go, made my pulse kick up a notch. The sun was high, casting a golden glow over the beach. Bibek suddenly stood up and, without a word, peeled off his snug gray t-shirt, revealing a chiseled tan torso, every muscle defined, his skin gleaming under the heat. He stretched lazily, running a hand through his hair before turning to me with a teasing grin. "Getting too hot for you," he smirked, clearly enjoying himself. I swallowed. "For you, maybe." "I'm doing just fine." Bibek tilted his head, scanning me. "Huh, thought guys from San Francisco weren't used to this kind of heat. Guess I was wrong." "Trust me," I shot back, trying to sound unaffected. "I can handle a little warmth." He laughed, a deep, husky sound that sent a shiver down my spine. "Good to know. But if you start looking too flustered, I might have to take you for a swim." I raised an eyebrow. "A swim? With you? Sounds dangerous." He leaned in slightly, his voice dropping just enough to make me question if he was joking. "Depends. Are you a strong swimmer?" I exhaled sharply, shaking my head. "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" He grinned, stepping back. "Maybe a little." Damn it. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't thinking about work. As I stepped out of the Yamaha taxi and onto the grounds of my hotel, the warm orange glow of the setting sun enveloped me, immediately immersing me in Bali's serene atmosphere. The sound of gentle music and the sweet fragrance of flowers filled the air, and I felt my worries slowly unravel. I turned to Bibek, my local guide and driver, and said, "Terima kasih, Bibek. Thanks for getting me here safely." Bibek flashed a bright smile. "No problem, Derek. Enjoy your stay." If you want to see some sights tomorrow, just give me a call, okay? He handed me his card, his dark eyes sparkling with hospitality. I nodded, tucking the card into my pocket. I'll definitely do that. Thanks again, Bibek. As Bibek drove off into the evening, I couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement and anticipation for the adventures that lay ahead in this enchanting island paradise. After a refreshing shower and a short nap, I headed out to experience Seminyak's vibrant nightlife. The famous bar I chose was packed with tourists, mostly Australians, thronging the bars and dancing in the disco. I grabbed a beer and settled into a corner, observing the lively scene. As I nursed my drink, a familiar face caught my attention. At first, I couldn't quite place him, but as he drew closer, I realized it was Bibek, my Yamaha taxi driver from earlier. I waved, and he waved back, making his way over to shake my hand warmly. Just then, the manager announced a dance competition, and 3 or 4 muscular guys took to the stage, dancing and flexing to the cheering crowd. But then, a new contender emerged from the sidelines. My eyes widened as I realized it was Bibek again. He confidently strode onto the stage, ripped his shirt off, and began dancing with a fluidity and passion that left the other contestants in the dust. His chiseled physique glistened under the lights, and his hips swiveled to the rhythm with a raw sensuality that had the crowd and me utterly entranced. I was transfixed, unable to tear my gaze away from Bibek's mesmerizing performance. His eyes locked onto mine, and I felt a jolt of electricity run through my veins. He flashed a radiant smile, and I could sense a spark of connection between us. In a playful gesture, Bibek waved at me, and then, with a mischievous glint in his eye, he blew a flying kiss in my direction. The crowd around me erupted into cheers and applause, but I was too caught up in the moment to notice. My heart racing, I couldn't help but smile back at him, feeling an undeniable attraction. As the competition came to a close, Bibek made his way towards me, his eyes never leaving mine. The air was charged with tension as he approached. "Hey, you enjoyed the show?" Bibek asked, his voice low and husky, his smile hinting at something more. "I loved it," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "You were amazing." Bibek's eyes sparkled with amusement. "I'm glad you liked it. Maybe I can give you a private show sometime," he teased, his words dripping with suggestion. My heart skipped a beat as I met his gaze. The chemistry between us was palpable, and I knew I wanted to explore it further. "I'd like that," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Bibek's smile grew wider, and he leaned in close, his lips brushing against my ear. "Meet me outside by the beach," he whispered, sending shivers down my spine. "I'll show you a night you will never forget." I nodded, my heart racing with anticipation. Bibek smiled and winked at me before turning and disappearing into the crowd. I waited for a few minutes, finishing my drink and trying to calm my nerves. Then, I made my way outside, the warm night air enveloping me as I walked towards the beach. The sound of the waves crashing against the shore was soothing, and I breathed in deeply, feeling a sense of excitement and trepidation. Suddenly, I saw Bibek walking towards me, his eyes gleaming in the moonlight. He was shirtless, his muscles rippling beneath his skin as he moved. "Hey," he said, his voice low and husky, as he reached out and took my hand. I felt a jolt of electricity run through me as he pulled me closer, our bodies swaying to the rhythm of the waves. "What do you want to do?" Bibek asked, his eyes locked on mine, his voice full of suggestion. I smiled, feeling a sense of freedom and excitement. "I'm game for anything," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. Bibek's eyes sparkled with mischief as he leaned in close, his lips brushing against my ear. "Let's go for a walk along the beach," he whispered, his breath sending shivers down my spine, "and see where the night takes us." As Bibek's words hung in the air, I felt my heart pounding in my chest. I knew I wanted him, too. The tension between us was palpable, and I could feel the electricity crackling in the air. Just as we were about to kiss again, the sound of waves crashing against the shore grew louder, and the wind picked up, whipping our hair into a frenzy. "Let's get out of here," Bibek whispered, his eyes gleaming with mischief. "My place is just a short walk from here." I nodded, my heart racing with anticipation. As we turned to leave, the moon dipped below the horizon, casting the sky in a deep, foreboding shade. And then, just as we were about to disappear into the darkness, Bibek's phone rang, shrill and insistent. He hesitated, his eyes locked on mine, before answering the call. "Hello," he said, his voice low and cautious. As he listened to the person on the other end, his expression changed from desire to concern. "What's wrong?" I asked, feeling a pang of worry. Bibek's eyes met mine, and I saw a flicker of uncertainty. "I have to go," he said, his voice tight with tension. "It's an emergency." And with that, he turned and disappeared into the night, leaving me standing alone on the beach, wondering what had just happened. But that's not all, folks. My trip to Bali is full of surprises, and the next episode is going to be even more thrilling. Will I see Bibek again? What's the mystery behind his sudden departure? Tune in to the next episode to find out. If you like this episode, please like and subscribe to our channel for more exciting gay love stories and adventures. And don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest episodes. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.